From the earliest times, Jewish and Christian theologians have wrestled with complex issues surrounding the nature of God and the relationship of God to humankind. To some, he is a vengeful God, who not only stands in judgment at the end of time, but also chooses whether or not to respond to those who pray. To others, he is perceived as an all-knowing presence who has decided the course of world history and has reasons for all events, so that every detail of the future is mapped out in advance. In this latter representation, God is immune to appeals from humans for help because he has absolute prior knowledge of the outcome of every situation. How the relationship between God and the things that happen is understood has deep implications for the role of Christian prayer. If God already knows the past, present, and future, then prayer, communicating with God by offering verbal praise or requests, through thoughts and meditations, or in the form of deliberate acts of worship seems irrelevant. Merely telling God what he already knows would carry no hope of changing what will happen. However, if the future is not already determined by God and is truly open, then prayer becomes an essential part of shaping that future. Although Christian theology has traditionally regarded God as omniscient, possessing a complete knowledge of all things past, present, and future, some theologians began to reject the idea of his knowledge of the future. If God knows what will happen, then the future must already be set in stone, which, they argued, would remove true freedom and spontaneity from history. This would also raise questions about God's essential goodness, and whether he is complicit in evil if he has prior knowledge of it, but takes no preventive action, as may be evident, for example, in his knowledge, even before the creation, that humans would bring suffering and wickedness into the world. The classic Christian view of God's foreknowledge depends upon the belief that God exists outside of time, so that what is in the future for human beings, and hence is non-existent and unknowable, is in the past for God and therefore both exists and is knowable. However, this view owes more to ancient Greek philosophy than genuine Christian thinking. The Bible describes a God who actively accompanies his people through time, not simply watching them from a distant position outside of time. Moreover, Christians believe that the coming of Jesus as a human being should be understood as the clearest indication that God is not outside of time or the reality of human life on earth, since he lived a human life, with all its limitations. Consequently, if the future does not yet exist for either humans or God, then it can be truly open. Seen from this perspective, God is not a distant observer but an active participant in the historical process, a presence who listens to the prayers and appeals of people, responding to their needs and walking beside them in their journey through life.